"Your sister deserves it more," Dad said when they decided to fund her future. I left that night. Now, they drive past my mansion, wondering, why does she have that? Growing up, I always knew Olivia was the favorite. She was 3 years older, blonde, cheerful, and everything my parents wanted in a daughter. I was the quiet one, a bookworm with messy brown hair who preferred computer lessons over cheerleading. My father, Richard, ran a modest car business, and my mother, Linda, never worked a day in her life. They weren't rich, but they had enough to lavish attention on one child while treating the other as an afterthought. When Olivia turned 17, she got a brand new Honda Civic. When I reached the same age, I got a bus pass and a lecture on responsibility. She went to a state college, living in a sorority house, fully paid for by our parents. I juggled 4 jobs just to make it through community college before transferring to a university 3 hours away. The pattern was obvious, but I kept hoping that someday things would change, that if I proved myself, they'd finally see my worth. How naive I was. 4 years ago, Olivia got engaged to Ethan, the middle manager at a logistics firm. The wedding plans began immediately, and my mother couldn't stop talking about it. Every Sunday dinner turned into hours of discussion about venues, flowers, and dresses. I sat there, pushing food around my plate, invisible as always. Then came the announcement that changed everything. We were at my parents' house when Olivia started discussing her wedding budget. I wasn't paying much attention until I heard the number. $90,000. My head snapped up. "Wait, what?" I asked, thinking I'd misheard. My father didn't even glance at me. "We're giving your sister $90,000 for the wedding. She deserves it for finding such a good man." I felt the ground tilt beneath me. $90,000. I had survived on instant noodles, working overnight shifts to pay for textbooks. I still carried $48,000 in student loans, and they were simply gifting her the equivalent of a house deposit. "That's a lot of money," I managed to say. Olivia beamed. "I know, right? We're thinking of having it at Riverside Estate. It's going to be perfect." I looked at my parents, words pressing at my throat. "I'm still paying off my loans. If there's money available, maybe I could—" "No." My mother cut me off sharply. "You made your choices, Claire. You chose an expensive university instead of staying local. You studied computer science instead of something practical." "Computer science isn't practical?" I asked, confused. My father finally looked at me. The disappointment in his eyes was familiar, but still painful. "Your sister is building a family. She needs help. You're just thinking about yourself, as usual." I felt the air leave my lungs. Thinking about myself? I had worked 4 jobs while Olivia partied through college on their dime. "That's enough," my father shouted. "Your sister appreciates what she's given. She's always been the daughter we're proud of." "And I'm not?" The words came out cracked, years of rejection finally forming sound. My mother sighed, tired and cold. "Claire, you don't deserve our help. You've never appreciated anything we've done. You've always been difficult, distant. Olivia includes us in her life. When's the last time you called just to talk?" I stood, my chair scraping against the floor. "When was the last time you answered when I did?" Silence. Olivia looked uneasy for a moment, then returned to her seating chart. I grabbed my bag and left. As I reached my car, I heard my mother's voice. "You're being dramatic, Claire. Come back and apologize." I didn't. That night, I sat on my worn couch and made a decision. If I didn't deserve their support, fine. I'd build my own life, one worth being proud of. The next morning, I blocked their numbers and deleted all social media connections. My coworker, Hannah, thought I was overreacting. "You're cutting off your whole family over money?" she asked during lunch. "It's not about money," I explained. "It's about being told I'm worthless to them, while they fund my sister's dream life." Hannah took my hand. "Then show them your worth." And I did. The first few weeks were harder than I expected. I often reached for my phone to call my mom about something small, a funny story from work, a recipe, anything. Then I'd remember, and the loss hit all over again. I didn't miss them exactly. I missed the idea of having parents who cared. My apartment felt emptier, quieter. For the first time, I was completely on my own. No safety net, no backup plan. It was terrifying, but also freeing. During that time, I started seeing a therapist, Dr. Grace Kim, on Hannah's recommendation. It was one of the best decisions I've ever made. In our third session, I broke down completely. "I keep thinking I'm overreacting," I sobbed. "Maybe I should just apologize. Maybe a bad family is better than no family." Dr. Kim leaned forward. "Claire, you didn't cause this break. You stopped accepting mistreatment. There's a difference between being alone and being lonely. Right now, you're alone by choice because being with them made you lonelier." Her words hit me hard. She was right. I had felt more alone at their dinner table, ignored and dismissed, than I did in my silent apartment. "What they did was emotional abuse," Dr. Kim said softly. "Extreme favoritism, constant comparisons, withholding support. I began seeing patterns I'd missed all my life. How my mother praised Olivia for the smallest achievements but ignored mine, no matter how big. How my father's face lit up when Olivia entered the room, but barely looked at me. In family photos, Olivia was always front and center, while I was cropped out or pushed aside. I remembered graduating high school with honors and earning a full scholarship. My parents showed up late, missed my name being called, and left early because Olivia had a hair appointment. When I got upset, Mom said, "Don't be so sensitive, Claire. It's just a graduation. Olivia's prom is next week. That's more important." Dr. Kim once asked me to bring childhood photos. Looking through them, I noticed what I hadn't before. Olivia glowing in every shot, me blurred and uncertain, standing slightly out of frame. In one photo from Olivia's 17th birthday, she stood between our parents like they were a perfect family of three. I was half cut out of the picture. "This must have been so painful to experience," Dr. Kim said quietly. "I thought it was normal," I whispered. "I thought something was wrong with me, that I wasn't lovable." "There's nothing wrong with you, Claire," she said gently. "What was wrong was how you were treated." With that realization, I transformed my pain into purpose. Therapy gave me clarity, and clarity gave me focus. Each therapy session that helped me peel back another layer of dysfunction fueled my determination to succeed. I threw myself into my work at the tech startup where I had been employed for 3 years. Though only a junior developer, I had ambitious goals. In my spare time, I focused on a software project I'd started years earlier, a system designed to revolutionize inventory management for small and mid-sized businesses. Using machine learning, it could predict supply needs from hundreds of data points, cutting waste and improving efficiency. The project began as part of my final year university coursework. After my presentation, my professor, Dr. David Reyes, pulled me aside. "Claire, this is impressive work. Have you thought about developing it further? It could have real market value." At the time, I was too busy surviving, balancing night shifts, coursework, and sleepless nights, to give it serious thought. But I had kept the code tucked away on my laptop like a seed waiting for the right moment to grow. Now, with my family's rejection still echoing in my head and Dr. Kim's encouragement to channel my energy productively, I revisited that old project. Every evening and weekend, I worked to refine, expand, and improve it. My small apartment became my command center. I set up a workspace in my bedroom, bought a second monitor with my tax refund, and coded until my eyes ached. The concept was promising, but it needed more depth. I integrated predictive analytics to track seasonal patterns, synced it with point-of-sale systems, and designed a simple dashboard for users who weren't tech-savvy. I beta tested it with 4 small businesses, including the corner store where I once worked. After a month, Mrs. Gomez, the owner, called me. "Claire, this program you made is amazing. I haven't had to throw out expired products in weeks. You should really sell this." Her words were the motivation I needed. While Olivia was likely enjoying her extravagant wedding, one I wasn't invited to, I was building something meaningful. I worked 15-hour days, running on caffeine and determination. Sometimes Hannah would drop by with dinner, finding me still typing at midnight. "You're going to burn out," she warned gently. "I can't stop now," I told her. "This is my chance, Hannah." My manager, Jason, noticed my exhaustion one morning when I nearly dozed off in a meeting. He pulled me aside. "You look terrible, Claire. What's going on?" I hesitated, then decided to be honest. "I've been working on a side project, inventory management software using machine learning. I think it could be something big." Jason's eyes widened. "Show me." 8 months after cutting off contact with my family, I presented my project to Jason in the company's small conference room. My hands trembled as I connected my laptop and walked him through each feature, beta test, and research document. I had prepared for every possible question. When I finished, he leaned back, silent for a moment, before saying, "This is excellent work, Claire. Truly brilliant." My heart pounded. "So, what do you think?" He smiled. "I think we should develop this into a full-scale product, and I want you as a partner, not just an employee." I stared at him, speechless. "You heard me," he continued. "This kind of innovation deserves partnership. We'll build it under our company, and you'll receive equity, profit share, and full recognition. But keep this quiet until launch. It'll be our flagship product." I wanted to call someone to share the news, but there was no one left to call. My family was gone, and old friends had long sided with Olivia. But Hannah was there that night. When I told her, she screamed with joy, hugging me so tightly I could hardly breathe. Within 3 months, we had transformed my prototype into a polished product. Jason hired additional developers to scale it, but I remained the lead architect, the one who knew it inside and out. We called it Inventory IQ. Our first major client was a chain of 30 sporting goods stores in the Midwest. Within a quarter, they reported a 45% reduction in waste. The results spoke for themselves. Word spread quickly. Business journals began covering our story. 8 months later, we signed a $3.6 million deal with a national retail chain operating over 200 stores. Sitting in that meeting, wearing a blazer I bought just for the occasion, I watched Jason shake hands with their CEO. He turned to me and said, "We just changed your life, Claire." Within a year, the company grew rapidly. We added sales, support, and development teams. My title changed from junior developer to chief technology officer. My salary jumped from $60,000 to $260,000. including profit sharing and equity. Jason made me a full partner. I went from living paycheck to paycheck to earning amounts I had never imagined. The software's reach expanded beyond retail to restaurants, warehouses, and even hospitals managing medical supplies. My algorithm, the one written in my small apartment, was now processing millions of data points daily across hundreds of businesses. I hired a financial advisor named Lauren, recommended by Jason. She reviewed my accounts and smiled. "Claire, do you realize how much money you're making?" "I know it's a lot," I replied, still in disbelief. "At this rate, you'll be a millionaire by year's end, possibly multimillionaire next year. We need to plan your investments and taxes." That word, millionaire, felt surreal. For years, I'd scraped by, choosing between gas and groceries. Now I was learning the language of wealth. With Lauren's help, I built a diversified portfolio of stocks, bonds, and real estate. Every decision was deliberate. "Money isn't just for spending," Lauren told me once. "It's a tool. Let it work for you. You've earned this." 3 years after that dinner when my parents said I didn't deserve help, my net worth crossed 7 figures. I paid off my student loans, all $48,000 in a single payment. Watching that balance drop to zero was deeply satisfying. I thought back to the nights scanning groceries at 3 a.m., eating cheap noodles, skipping meals, wearing shoes with holes. Every struggle had led here. After settling my debts and investing wisely, I bought a house. Not just any house, but a custom-built modern home in Evergreen Heights, one of the city's most exclusive neighborhoods. 5 bedrooms, 6 bathrooms, a chef's kitchen, and an infinity pool overlooking the skyline. Price tag, $5.5 million with a 35% cash down payment. Finding the right property was an experience in itself. My realtor, Monica, who handled only high-net-worth clients, seemed skeptical at first. I was 30, casually dressed, asking to view multi-million-dollar listings. "Do you have pre-approval from a lender?" she asked politely. I handed her the letter. Her brows lifted. "All right then, let's find your home." After touring several properties, none felt right until she showed me a half-finished modern build in Evergreen Heights. The architect, Michael Park, was on site. "This is the crown jewel of the development," he explained, showing us around the skeletal frame. "Can I make design changes?" I asked. "That depends," he said carefully. "I want to expand the master bath and create a large home office, at least 22 by 26 feet, with built-in shelving, multiple workstations, soundproofing, and custom wiring." Michael did some quick math. "That'll add about $280,000 and 5 months to the project." "Do it," I said without hesitation. Monica smiled, impressed. "You're serious about this?" Completely. As construction continued, I visited weekly. I watched my ideas become real. The spa-like bathroom, the expansive office, the professional kitchen. I selected every fixture, finish, and paint color. The designer, Isabel, had impeccable taste, but always prioritized my vision. "This is your home," she said once. "It should reflect who you are." For the first time in my life, I had that freedom. I chose deep blues, warm grays, and clean modern lines. Furniture that felt welcoming. Art that spoke to me. When the house was finished, Michael personally handed me the keys. "It's been a pleasure working with you, Claire. This place is special." Standing alone in the empty living room, I cried. Not from sadness, but relief. I had made it. Even so, moving in felt surreal. My second-hand furniture looked misplaced in the vast rooms. "You need proper furniture," Hannah laughed. So I brought Isabel back to help furnish the space. And for the first time, I didn't check the price tags. I bought the leather sofa I'd always wanted, a dining table for $12, and a bed more expensive than my first car. Still, I remembered Dr. Kim's advice. Wealth can heal, but it can also wound if you let it define you. I stayed grounded. I kept my Honda Accord, upgraded to a newer model, shopped at the same grocery stores, and met Hannah weekly for lunch at simple cafes. The mansion symbolized success, but it didn't define me. 3 months after moving in, I met Daniel at a tech conference in Seattle. I had been invited to speak on a panel about innovation in inventory management, something that still felt unreal. After my session, he approached me. "That was impressive," he said, extending his hand. "Daniel Cooper, software engineer at Dataflow Systems." "Clare Harris," I replied. "Thank you." He was tall, kind-eyed, with a genuine smile. We talked for an hour about everything from technology to books to the terrible conference coffee. "Can I take you to dinner?" he asked as the event ended. "Somewhere with better coffee." I hesitated. Relationships had never been easy. I'd built walls to avoid rejection. But something about Daniel felt different. "Sure," I said. "I'd like that." Dinner turned into a late-night walk through Seattle. We shared stories about our lives, childhoods, and failures. When I mentioned being estranged from my family, he nodded. "My parents divorced when I was young," he said quietly. "My dad wasn't great at keeping in touch after that. I understood complicated family dynamics more than most. By the end of our first meeting, Daniel and I had spent nearly every spare moment together. Long distance wasn't easy. He lived in Portland. But we made it work through constant video calls, weekend visits, and endless texting. He showed genuine interest in my work, listened to my ideas, and never made me feel like I was too much or not enough. 7 months into our relationship, I invited him to see my house. I was nervous, worried it might come off as showing off or make the gap between our finances uncomfortable. I picked him up from the airport, and as we drove toward Evergreen Heights, he looked around, noticing the neighborhoods becoming more upscale. "So, where do you live?" he asked curiously. "You'll see," I replied. When the gates opened and the house came into view, his jaw literally dropped. "Claire, this is yours?" "Yes," I said quietly. He was silent for a moment, taking in the high ceilings, the open view, and the quiet evidence of what I'd built. I braced myself for discomfort or judgment, but instead, he smiled and said, "This is incredible. You built this life for yourself, didn't you? I'm proud of you." Those 4 words, "I'm proud of you," broke me in the best way. My parents had never said them in 28 years. Yet this man, after 7 months, said it with conviction, and I believed him. I hadn't told anyone from my old life about my success. Why would I? They had made it clear I was on my own. When I moved into my home, Hannah helped me settle in, and Daniel, the man I'd met 9 months earlier at a tech conference, became my steady support. He worked as a software engineer at a major firm. He was kind, calm, and never pried into my family history. For the first time, life felt peaceful. I had a job I loved, people who respected me, ... and a home that was completely mine. The hole my family left had closed, leaving only a faint scar. Then, 2 weeks ago, that peace shattered. While on a video call with a client, my doorbell rang. I ignored it. Later, my phone started buzzing. several missed calls from unknown numbers. After the meeting, I checked my doorbell camera footage. My stomach dropped. It was Olivia. She was at my front gate, staring up at my house with her mouth open. She tried the intercom, peeked through the gate, and even reached over the fence to take photos. Then I checked my voicemails. The first was from her. "Hi, Claire. I was driving through Evergreen Heights and saw your name on a mailbox. That can't be right. Call me back." The second came minutes later, angrier. "What the hell, Claire? How do you have a house here? These are million-dollar homes. Call me back now." The third message wasn't from her. It was my mother. Her voice sounded tight and emotional, and a home that was completely mine. The hole my family left had closed, leaving only a faint scar. Then, 2 weeks ago, that piece shattered. While on a video call with a client, my doorbell rang. I ignored it. Later, my phone started buzzing, several missed calls from unknown numbers. After the meeting, I checked my doorbell camera footage. My stomach dropped. It was Olivia. She was at my front gate, staring up at my house with her mouth open. She tried the intercom, peeked through the gate, and even reached over the fence to take photos. Then, I checked my voicemails. The first was from her. "Hi, Claire. I was driving through Evergreen Heights and saw your name on a mailbox. That can't be right. Call me back." The second came minutes later, angrier. "What the hell, Claire? How do you have a house here? These are million-dollar homes. Call me back now." The third message wasn't from her. It was my mother. Her voice sounded tight and emotional. "Claire Marie, your sister just called me crying. She says you live in a mansion. Why does she have that when we gave her nothing? You need to call us immediately and explain what's going on." By the time I finished listening, there were 9 voicemails, each one more demanding. Even my father called. "Hi, Claire. It's your dad. We need to talk about this situation. This is a family matter. Call us back." I deleted them all, but the calls didn't stop. Over the next week, I received more than 50, from cousins, aunts, uncles, even my grandmother. Olivia had clearly stirred up the entire family. The tone of the messages varied, some curious, some congratulatory, others outright accusatory. My grandmother's voicemail stood out. "Sweetheart, your mother is beside herself. She doesn't understand why you'd hide your success. She feels hurt that you didn't share it with your family. Please call her." Betrayed. The word almost made me laugh. They had betrayed me my entire life, and now that I had something of value, I was suddenly the selfish one for not including them. That night, Hannah came over with wine. "So, what are you going to do?" she asked. "Nothing," I said, pouring us both generous glasses. Exactly what they taught me. Live my life without them. She nodded. They're not going to stop trying. And she was right. Soon, letters began arriving, forwarded from my old address. One was unmistakably from my mother. My hands trembled as I opened it. "Claire, I don't understand why you're doing this. We're your family. Yes, we disagreed 3 years ago, but this has gone too far. Your sister is heartbroken that you live in luxury, while she and Ethan are struggling in their starter home. Your father's dealership isn't doing well. We could really use your help. Surely, with all your success, you can give back to those who raised you. We all make mistakes, but family forgives. It's time to come home. Olivia is pregnant and wants her child to know their aunt. Love, Mom." I reread it several times, seeing the manipulation woven between the lines. They didn't want reconciliation. They wanted access. Olivia's struggles were mentioned as bait, and the pregnancy reveal was emotional leverage. So, I wrote back. I revised my response a dozen times until it said exactly what I needed it to. Linda, you're right about one thing. We disagreed 3 years ago. You told me I didn't deserve help, that I wasn't the kind of daughter you could be proud of. You gave Olivia $90,000 and made it clear I was worth nothing to this family. So, I listened. I built a life where I don't need your approval, your help, or your presence. You feel betrayed because I didn't share my success. I didn't hide anything. I simply stopped having a relationship with you. You are not entitled to updates about my life, finances, or happiness. Olivia's child will have a big family. I just won't be part of it. Please don't contact me again. I sent it certified mail, and 2 days later, the delivery confirmation came. Within an hour, my phone rang. My father. I let it go to voicemail. His message was full of fury. How dare you? We gave you food, a roof over your head, and this is how you repay us? You're an ungrateful brat who doesn't deserve the success you've achieved. Mark my words, you'll fall, and when you do, don't come crawling back. I saved that voicemail, not because it hurt, though it did, but because it confirmed I'd made the right choice. Later, Daniel found me sitting silently in our home theater. You okay? He asked softly. They called me selfish, I said. After everything, they think I'm selfish. He put an arm around me. They're scared, Claire. Scared because they can't control you anymore. You're successful and happy without them. That ruins the story they've always told themselves. He was right. My success didn't fit their narrative. Olivia was supposed to be the capable one. I was the disappointment. Then, 2 days later, Hannah called me. You need to see this. She sent me a screenshot. It was Olivia's Facebook post, public and spreading fast. Some people forget where they came from. My sister has millions while her family struggles, and she refuses to answer our calls. Money changes people, not always for the better. The comments were mixed. Some supported her, others questioned her side. Then I saw my mother's comment. We gave her everything, and this is how she repays us. Some children have no gratitude. Everything. According to her version, a bus pass instead of a car, student loans instead of tuition, and endless criticism counted as everything. I had stayed silent long enough. I made a new Facebook account under my full name and wrote one post set to public. Many people have asked why I no longer speak to my family. Here's the truth. 3 years ago, my parents gave my sister $90,000 for her wedding. When I asked for help with my student loans I had because I got no support for college, I was told I didn't deserve help. My father called me a disappointment. My mother said I was ungrateful. So I stopped asking. I built a career in tech, developed software now used by hundreds of businesses, and bought a home with money I earned. I didn't hide my success out of spite. I simply no longer have a relationship with people who made me feel unworthy. Now that I'm successful, they want to come back. But you can't choose when to be family. You can't tell someone they're worthless and then expect to share their worth. Forgiveness doesn't erase years of neglect. They had 20 years to treat me like family. They chose not to. I'm just following the boundaries they set. I'm happy, successful, and loved by people who stood by me when I had nothing. That's what matters. I hit post and closed my lel. I ended the call and blocked the number. When I walked into the kitchen, Daniel looked up from making dinner. How do you feel? He asked. I thought for a moment. Free, I said. I finally feel free. The online noise eventually faded. My family stopped reaching out, likely too embarrassed now that the truth was public. Later, I learned through Hannah that my father's dealership wasn't struggling at all. The story about financial hardship had just been another manipulation to guilt me into helping. Olivia gave birth 4 months ago. I know because my grandmother mailed a birth announcement to my office. A baby girl, Ella. I felt nothing. Not anger, not sadness. Just a quiet realization that somewhere out there, I had a niece I'd never meet. I shredded the card and went back to work. Last week, Daniel proposed. We were on a weekend trip by the ocean. I said yes without hesitation. We're planning a small ceremony. Only close friends and the family we've chosen faux. The Hannah will be my maid of honor. Daniel's parents, who have shown me more kindness in 3 years than mine did in nearly 3 decades, will walk me down the aisle. We're paying for everything ourselves. Every choice is ours, free of guilt or obligation. Sometimes I think about what would have happened if my parents had said yes that day. Would I have been as driven? Would I have settled for less, stayed in their orbit, and never reached this point? I'll never know. But I do know this. Rejection was the greatest gift they ever gave me. It forced me to bet on myself, and I won. My house, worth $6 million, isn't just a building. It's proof that I was always worth more than they could see. Every room and window represents the woman I became once I stopped chasing their approval. Olivia once drove past my home, crying to our mother, asking why I had so much when they'd given me nothing. The answer is simple. I have this because they gave me nothing. Their absence fueled my ambition. Their doubt fueled my determination. Their rejection led to my redemption. I don't hate them anymore. Hatred requires caring, and I've moved past that. They made their choices, and I made mine. Hannah asked me recently if I ever regret cutting them off. I looked around, at my office, my home, Daniel planning our wedding, and said, no, I never will. Some people spend their lives trying to earn love from family who'll never see their worth. I spent mine proving it to myself, and that made all the difference. Each night, I stand by my infinity pool, the city lights sparkling below, and think back to that dinner table where I was told I didn't deserve help. They were right. I didn't deserve their help. I deserved so much more, and I found it on my own. That's my story. How I went from the disappointment of the family to a woman with a $6 million home, not out of revenge, but through resilience, belief, and self-worth. Within 8 hours, it had over 2,000 shares. By morning, more than 12,000. People found Olivia's post and called her out for leaving out the $90,000 and the "you don't deserve help" part. Then my phone rang. It was my mother. This time I answered. "How could you do this?" she snapped. "You embarrassed us. Your father's clients know. Olivia's friends are asking questions. How could you broadcast family matters like this?" "I only told the truth," I said calmly. "You twisted everything." "No," I replied. "I quoted you word for word. You know what's really humiliating? Being told by your parents that you're not worth helping." She started crying. "We made mistakes, but you're our daughter. Doesn't that mean anything?" "It used to," I said quietly. "It used to mean everything. But you taught me that love in our family is conditional, based on being the kind of daughter you could be proud of. I couldn't be that for you, so I became it for myself." "Claire, please,"